Hello everyone, Darren here, and welcome to a brand new series here in Satisfactory. For those familiar with my channel, you'll know that I've had a long-running series in Satisfactory before with Update 6. But this series is going to address a lot of the feedback that I got previously, where I'm going to be showing all of the recipes, the production chains, the dimensions of buildings, and being just that little bit more thorough with the build process, but hopefully not wasting any time by using time lapses to speed through any of those repetitive parts. The first few episodes here are also going to be extremely beginner friendly, so if you're new to Satisfactory or you felt intimidated in the past, this is hopefully going to be the perfect series for you, where everything's going to be explained and you can build along. I'll also be sharing blueprints later in the series once we actually unlock them, so you can do exactly what I'm doing if you want to. Now, if you're a veteran, then it is going to be a few episodes before we get everyone up to speed, but consider sharing the video with a friend who has yet to become an enlightened gamer such as ourselves. Now, this first episode specifically is going to be all about the basics. We're going to be setting up iron, copper, and limestone production, as well as biomass power, cover the fundamentals of production rates, belt logistics, and game progression. By the end, we'll have completed Tier 1 and most of Tier 2. We'll be starting in grassy fields and skipping the intro/tutorial, which is going to put us straight at Tier 1 with some starting materials. No mods is going to be active in-game, and no advanced game settings. If that changes in the future, I'll always let you know. Remember that episodes of this series are going to be weekly. You get them early if you're a channel member, and if you can spare the support, a like on the video helps tremendously. Alright, without any further delay, let's begin. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here we are in grassy fields. We've landed on the planet of Massage 2AAB something something, aka the world of Satisfactory. The map, despite what a lot of people think, is actually all just one map, regardless of where you start. It just has many different biomes, and it's very large, so that's why a lot of people think there are multiple maps in the game. Now, first thing I want you to do is open up your inventory by pressing tab, move your mouse over to the right-hand side of the screen, click the shadow that appears on that side, the sort of vignette that encroaches on the right side, click it, and you'll open up the to-do list. This is basically just a way to keep your own notes in the game and track your progress if you want to. I find it extremely helpful. A lot of people get burnt out in this game. I can't imagine that happening to me. But some people do, and a way to kind of keep you on track is just to tackle little objectives one by one and just tick them off on your little to-do list, and that way it keeps you organized, and if you leave the game for a while and come back, you kind of know what you were doing previously. Alright, so there's actually a formatting guide up here for you if you need to know what to type and how to format it. I basically just copy and pasted in what I had before, so effectively, now we can close that, close our UI, and if I just look up to the sky, I know it's kind of small there on the right, we see our to-do list, power gathering, hub setup, mining operations, so on and so on. Now, we want to get orientated. We have this giant rock arch here that we can use at the south of grassy fields. You gotta kind of have to just figure out what side of it you're on. But basically, we want to head to this little forest over here so we can kind of gather some vegetation. So in the early game, as people know, you basically have to power biomass burners with vegetation that you pick up just by running around on the ground. And you'll see that I'm picking up these branches here on the ground. Now, wood is what we're after, and the best place to kind of get it, at least early on, is just in this little forest over here. So it doesn't matter, you don't have to do this specifically or go to this specific place, you can just pick it up wherever. I just find that there's a tremendous amount in here. So I'm just going to quickly run in there, grab as much of the wood here on the ground as possible, which has a much better burn rate, basically, than leaves does, and a better conversion rate to biomass. So I'm just going to run around this entire sort of plateau. Make sure you avoid the weird spinning globe thing and the hostile creatures that are in here if you've enabled them. Just run around them, they'll be fine, you don't have to fight them. And we're just going to grab as many of these branches as possible. Alright, that actually didn't take too long at all. I have nearly 600 wood in my inventory now, nearly 1,000 leaves. So this should last us for many, many hours at the level that we're going to be building at least. So we should be good for quite a while now. So basically, orientate yourself with the rock arch again, and this time aim north / maybe a little bit northwest, and we'll just get running in that direction. Again, as you're running, just pick up leaves, pick up any bits of wood you may find on the ground. There's actually still a decent amount around here towards the cliffs and the rock face and the rock edges. And we're heading for pretty much right over there, right where that big wall is. Alright, so now that we're at the rock wall, we basically can orientate ourselves again, right? We have the 3 iron deposits just there in front of me, right where we're looking. We've got 1 limestone deposit over to my right, and we have the rock arch in the distance. Now, you can actually scan for these resources, so holding V, letting it go on the resource that you want, we can see limestone right there. We've got another limestone node just in the distance over there, and the iron is right in front of me. So hopefully everyone can follow along and we're all orientated the same way. Now before we get building, one other thing I want to do is go into the options menu, go to user interface, and in the hologram color section, change this from what was probably around here to just bring it down to make it a bit lighter. You can go all the way to being white if you want, or just keep it somewhere in the middle. I think it looks pretty good. The reason for this is that when we get buildings later on that have certain directional inputs and outputs, they have little arrows painted on them, but they're hard to see if they're blue because sometimes the green color, which is the direction of the arrows, obfuscates the direction of the building facing. But if you change it to white, it's much easier to see through the hologram, as it were. Like for instance, we can see those yellow power icons no matter where we're looking through this. It almost makes it more transparent if you want to think of it that way. So it's just a little tip for doing that kind of thing. So we're going to build the hub pretty much, yeah, right around here, right next to the rock that I'm on. Just slam it down. And that will bring in our little, hopefully he avoids it, our little spaceship's going to come in so that we can actually fill it up with different material and send it off. There we are. Another tip, if you press P, go into photo mode, middle mouse button gets rid of it, and then scroll wheel will zoom in and out so you can get those tasty cinematic shots, which you gotta love. Especially in Update 8, everything looking so damn good. Especially if you have global illumination turned on. Alright, so all good. Our boy's gonna dock. Now, this hub comes built in with 2 biomass burners. However, they're slightly different than the standard ones you'd normally get. They only generate 20 megawatts of power. When you build your own externally, they generate 30, and they're also slightly bigger. So these are the only instances of biomass burners that do 20 megawatts of power, for instance. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is, well, we've pretty much set up the hub, but we want to actually automate turning some of our wood and leaves into biomass and then feeding it into these machines. So we're going to do our very first little machine right here. So we've got a constructor. It's a one-to-one connection, so you just put one thing in, one thing comes out, and it just does one sort of transfer. So we'll just spin it around, and here we can actually see the holograms. I should have just shown it with this before. Much easier to see through it now, I feel like. So we'll hold control just to lock it and snap it to the building that it's aligned to. Until we get foundations a little bit later, we're just going to be building on top of the grass, and it won't really be that organized. But what we can always do is click a building and then hold control, and it will align it with other buildings it's next to. So we'll do that more in future. So to get us started here, we'll just select our power pole by pressing number 1 on the command key on the hotbar. Press number 2 for the cables. Hook the cable up to the biomass burner. Hook the other cable up to the machine itself, and this gives us more flexibility so we can hook up more machines or more power poles instead of just directly hooking up one machine, obviously. Alright, so select this. We're going to choose biomass wood, and then we're just going to feed this with a little bit of leaves, just a tiny bit. It might not even be enough, actually. We've only got 3 in this pile here. We'll put that in there, and then basically put some wood in here, 4 wood, and that should give us 20 biomass in one move. Boom. Right, we'll take the biomass out. Now we can remove the leaves and just put in biomass. So basically, biomass lasts way longer than leaves or wood. So that's why we want to basically make our fuel go further by filling up this machine now with 200 wood. And it's just going to keep converting it into biomass. We're not going to pull it into a container or anything yet. We want to be careful with how much stuff we use. We want to keep as much material as local as possible. But this will keep power basically automated now that we're going to be making huge amounts of biomass. So to understand the machine's production rates, we can see that 4 wood is going to transfer into 20 biomass every cycle. The cycle takes 4 seconds. The machine takes 4 megawatts of power. In total, if we want to know it per minute, that means it's 60 wood per minute to give us 300 biomass per minute. Now, unfortunately, biomass is capped at 200 in a stack. So we'll have to pull this out after we hit 200. So it's hit 200, the machine has gone idle. So we'll just pull that out, and then we'll just grab it and throw it in fully into here. And when we get another 200, we'll throw it into that one. We'll connect the 2 together. Bada bing, bada boom. We'll be loving it. Now, before we do that, I gotta just check something real quick. Alright, so I was just checking my numbers to make sure I have everything right. I know exactly what we're going to be building today. So open up your build menu and hover over any type of building that you want. And you'll see this little plus sign appear, and it says add to to-do list. And this basically will show us what ingredients we have in our inventory and what we're missing in order to build a certain amount of these. So we'll hit the plus sign, and we can see over on the right hand side of the screen that we're getting more and more things that are being added to the list that we don't have. And we effectively want to type in 18 constructors is what we're going to need. We're going to need 8 smelters, and we're going to need 6 miners. We also need some other things, but we can't queue them up just yet because we haven't actually unlocked them. So let's get to work. It's getting dark already, actually. So we'll just put down the first miner right around here. on top of the limestone node. We'll climb up the ladder and hop straight across. Now, if you do a crouch jump, and you time it right, you can get up on this hill. If you didn't do that right, don't worry, just walk up the little hill here. We're going to head towards the copper node, which is just in front of me. By scanning it, we can just see it's right there. So a lot of the nodes in the games are going to have these little deposits on top of them that you have to clear first. And looks like we have a little enemy here. We'll just deal with him. Alright, no big deal. If you took damage before, I meant to say you can just take out your berries or your nuts. Or whatever else. We'll just skip that. That's no problem. Yeah, so you can just take out some fruit or nuts or whatever you found and just eat it. And that'll bring your health back, no problem. Try to keep it if you can, though, because we'll actually use some of it later. Alright, so let's just hack away at this copper node, and then we can get started. Alright, great. So we want to put down another miner just up here. We'll actually face it away. So we've got a little bit of flat terrain sort of out in this direction. And of course we can just clear some of the bushes out of the way. Not that they really matter too much anyway, but just to give us nice visibility. We'll hop back here and place down our next miner. So we'll just aim it roughly out that way. Good thing now is you can lock things in their place and have a look if the position is right by pressing H. So I'm happy with that. And that's our next one. So, what we'll want to do is actually set up our first little connection point here. So what we're going to need to do with copper, very basically, is bring it into one smelter at least. So again, holding control to align the buildings. We're just going to get some distance on it, because we're going to put stuff in between in future. But just get some distance on it, and then put it down. So there's some distance between the two areas. Take out a belt by pressing number 3. Click the output. Click the input. Bada bing, bada boom. We are rolling. Now these guys don't have power yet, so we'll have to build a power pole. Connect the power into this one. Maybe build another pole down here. Connect this one into this one. And then we'll just bring the power somewhere down onto the ground, all the way out there. So we can actually hook it all up. So that's going to be our first thing, pretty much ready to go. Actually, we'll want to build one constructor in front of this as well. Hold control, snap it in, give it some distance. Pretty good distance. And then we'll connect these two together also. Now, inside of here, we'll actually have to select the recipe. What we're going to be making is wire. So we'll just simply click wire. We'll simply click copper ingot, and then make sure that we hook it up to power as well. So we'll just select here, and select that in there. Now, because this might be running for just a minute before we get to it, we'll also build a storage container. So holding a storage container, holding control again, just move it forward, click it in, and bring that in there. So now we've got a little production chain. The miner puts out copper ore. The smelter takes in the ore, puts out ingots. This is going to take in the ingots, put out wire, and that's going to store the wire for us to collect later. Everything's hooked up to power. The storage container obviously doesn't need power. It's just a storage container, and we'll just run our way back down here and hook everything up and power it on for the first time. Then it gives us flexibility and a bit of time to run over and start work on the iron. Now, our constructor has completed the second tier of biomass. Just going to fill it into the next machine. By the way, I'm not wasting any time by not doing anything here. You'll notice that it's at 198. It's barely burning anything because it wasn't powering anything. So if the biomass burners are connected to a network that's offline, they won't burn their fuel. So they only burn what they consume, sort of, if they're online anyway. By the way, if it gets dark, B is your hotkey for a flashlight, so we can brighten the place up a bit. And nighttime goes quite a lot faster than daytime, so it should be bright in no time at all. So, seeing as we've put stuff in the other one, we'll just grab another power pole here, drag it towards me, connect it in there, and now they're both on the network. If we check the network, we can see this big spike here was me adding another 20 megawatts of possible capacity. So our capacity is now 40 megawatts of power. Our consumption is basically nothing because it's just stopped again, because every time we hit 200, it's going to keep stopping. So we're just going to pull biomass out of that whenever we need it and feed it into machines. That's totally fine. We don't need to put in a container, trust me. Alright, so next thing is we're going to clear these 3 mines. So I'll just take out the little hog that's running around here, and then clear the top of these deposits, and then we'll get building again. Alright, so I've chipped away the little excess rock that was on top of these 2 deposits here. There's still the third one over there, but we'll leave that untapped for now. We've got the capacity to build 2 extra miners. I'll just rotate it facing out towards me, maybe a little bit angled like this. That'll be good. And then build the other one at the same angle. So those 2 can just go down. And that's basically all the miners we can build right now before having to craft more material. So we'll just leave it at that just for now. And then what we want to do is just what we did before. Grab our smelter, hold control, move it forward, give it a decent amount of distance. And then similarly do the same over here. There's a bit of a rock in the way this time, but it doesn't really matter. Something like that. Alright, we've got 2 miners in position. We'll then get our belt, connect the belt in. Get the belt, connect it in. And then hook up power. So, we've already run into a little bit of trouble. It says I'm out of wire. So we already set up wire production just up on the hill. So I'm just going to run up and grab that wire and then come back down. Alright, I've got some wire. I just ran back. I also just moved this smelter a little bit forward. It was kind of like on top of the rock, so I just kind of moved it forward, just in case you're wondering. Alright, so basically, yep, we've got what we need for a power pole now. So we'll just build one around here, another one about here. They're going to have to be pretty close together. And then we'll just hook it all up with cables. So cable from there to there. Alright, simple as that. And now we can hook up the... Well, we won't connect it just yet, actually. I'll just give it a second. What we're also going to need then is just 2 more constructors. One right here at the front. Just move it forward, about there. Give it a decent amount of space from the smelter. And we just need 1 on each side. About there. And then just hook these up with belts as well, of course. Alright, so let's pull power just a little bit forward so these 2 machines can get it. And I'm out of cable. Alright, so this is going to be a reoccurring theme. We'll run out of things every now and then. We just have to run back and forth. But it's worth mentioning, I have wire. And to make cable, we've got an inbuilt crafting bench in our hub. Just go up to it, scroll down the cable. We can make 18 by burning all the wire we have. We'll just make a little bit. And then I can always just go up and collect more wire in a minute. Great. So 16 cable. That should be enough to get the ball rolling here. Alright, hook that one up. Hook that one up. Okay, everything has power. The miners are spinning. So we'll just have to select that we want these ones to do iron. And that we want this to do iron rods. So select iron rods for the one that's on the far left. And then select iron plates for this one. And then make sure as well you tell it to do iron ingots. So hopefully we've got the power for all of this. It seems like we've got the max consumption is actually going to go over the potential output that we have. But that is basically mining operations done. We just have to hook up the power to actually get some limestone. But before we do, we're going to build a biomass burner. So we're going to need 4 of these, I think, in total. We just about don't have enough for 1. I have to go grab some more wire. This is why I wanted you to get wire first, because you're going to need that early on quickly. Alright, look at this. We've got 112 wire in here already. With a production rate of 30 per minute, so we're doing pretty good. So that's going to be enough wire for quite a while before we'll have to come up here again. Remember as well, when you're passing by the constructor, just take out the biomass, just keep throwing wood into that every time you need to. Haha, we've actually just had a power grid shutdown, but that's okay, we anticipated it. We have what we need to build another biomass burner, so we'll just place it anywhere here, it doesn't really matter. Maybe just tuck it in next to the hub somewhere, right about there. And then, yeah, we're gonna have to sever one of the cables here. Put down another one. Connect that, connect this, and connect this. So now we've got an extra biomass burner as part of our network. I will just feed it with another 200 biomass, pull the switch, get everything back online. So remember, these ones provide 30 megawatts of power, these ones only 20, so we're after giving ourselves a significant little boost here at the beginning. And we're going to add on multiple more of these when we build up some of the materials in the background. So just to make sure they all have fuel, this one's down to 180. Let's just hold shift and click our biomass, and we'll just throw it in there until it maxes out. So now they all have what they need for a while. Throw in more wood, take out the biomass, keep that stuff rolling in the background. So, last thing to do then would be to set up... Do we have what we need for one more constructor? No, we're actually missing it. So now, we can go say that mining operations is done. The sun is rising. We're going to go out and explore for a little minute. Just while those machines are all cranking stuff out now in the background. Oh man, look how good this looks. Alright, so I know where I'm heading. There should be a crashed ship just over in the distance, right roughly where I'm aiming right now. And if we head over there, we should find ourselves some reinforced iron plates. Now you can craft them based on the iron rods and the iron plates that we had already just set up. But we can save ourselves a lot of time here if we just find the crash site and pick it up for ourselves. So I think it's just over the ridge. Yes, there it is. Alright, so this is what we're looking for. These metal plates in the ground. 12 iron plates right there. They're reinforced iron plates. There's motors around here as well, which you can pick up. Just avoid the enemies. They don't really matter. There's a nice big batch there. 27. There's more wire here. More motors. That might be it. If there is any more around here, it's not really too much of a concern for me anyway. That's just kind of what we need right now. So just run. These guys will de-aggro off of you if you just kind of hop away. Or you can fight them if you want. I wonder, do they take radiation? He's right next to the radioactive rock, actually. Alright, we're heading back down. I kind of toggled it off a little bit too quickly. Now that we have the reinforced plates, we can make more constructors. So we just want one in front of the limestone mine. And we can build it pretty close. So the limestone mine doesn't need a smelter. It just goes straight from limestone into a constructor, and it just builds concrete for us. So concrete's going to be really important for us, especially later on. We need more cable. Gonna have to craft it. So a nice little tip here actually is when you're crafting, you don't have to hold the button. If you just tap the spacebar, it just stays on. And then we can craft maybe about 50 cable here, and that should be enough to last us for quite a while. Alright, cool. So we're back at the constructor. We'll just hook it up this way. Select it, and we select concrete. And we'll just build a storage container so it can go into that. So in organization tab, we're missing now rods. But if you remember, we've set up everything we need now. Now it's just about scaling it up over time, adding more power, adding more machines, and we should be good. So we'll just access these machines, take out the plates, and we'll take out the rods. And we'll just get this final machine going, the concrete, and then we're good to kind of start progressing through the tiers. Alright, storage container. We'll just put the storage container pretty much right in front, holding control, snap it right into it, connect those two up just like that, and that should be concrete. Alright, so now the interesting thing with limestone to concrete is it's the first time where we actually won't have enough coming out. We haven't really looked at the numbers yet, right? So 30 limestone per minute comes out of this machine. And in here, the demand is for 45 limestone per minute. So the machine actually isn't going to run at 100%. Now we don't even see any of those numbers yet, but in future it'll actually tell us the efficiency rating and allow us to overclock and underclock the machine. We'll get back to that later in the episode, but it's just worth noting that if this is periodically stopping, that's fine. Basically every 3 cycles it will slow down. It's running at about 66% productivity. So instead of getting 15 concrete out, we're probably only getting 10. But that's fine. 10 concrete per minute just working its way in the background should be totally fine. Alright, again, we still have wood on hand, so we'll just throw it in there, take out some of the biomass, and look how much biomass we have just from that initial wood run that we did. Okay, so let's actually have a look at what we need to feed the beast to progress. So in here, we have our milestones, tier 1, tier 2. We've got base building, logistics, and field research. Logistics is actually what we want to do first. So it's going to require 300 wire, which we've got, 150 iron rods, and 150 plates. So we just select the milestone, and then it'll be up here on the top to dump in. Now just really quickly, you can dump things in here, like so, and then you can actually switch the milestone and pick a different one, and hit select. You don't get the materials back that you gave into the other thing, but you can fill multiple milestones at the same time, and send off one big package if you want, and that cuts down on a little bit of time, because when you hit select milestone, you send it off, it actually has a cooldown of a couple of minutes before you can do it again. So if you were trying to be time efficient, you could just do the one you want maybe, or save up materials and do it all at the same time to unlock all of these features. But for now, we're just going to get logistics. We can do multiple then after the fact. But logistics is the one that matters to us. So effectively, what we're going to get is splitters, mergers, lifts, and a productivity display in the machines, which we just talked about. So this amount of time that's passed, we should have more plates and rods on the other machines. Alright, so I'm basically having to wait for more rods to be completed. So what we're going to do is just run up there and grab this little slug. There's some other things that we can take a look at really quickly, or at least we'll use it in future. Alright, so you just hold E to pick it up, and then the first time we pick it up we should get a message about it telling us about what it is and what it can do. So there's another one just up there. Like I said, if you press P, just tap it, then press middle mouse button, and then scroll, you can actually zoom in and out of things, right? It's a photo mode, but you can use it to kind of survey and zoom in and see things. So there's another one up there. So we'll just run up there and grab that one, and then I'll hop down. Alright, easy. Just one little hog up here defending it. Just hop down, I'm sure it'll be fine. Alright, let's see how many rods we've made and see if we can get the first milestone done. So if you press F to take out your dismantle tool, you can actually see what's inside machines. So in this one, we can see there's 48 plates, there's 34 rods in this one, now 35. That's an additional 75. That's exactly what we need to complete the milestone. In fact, I need just a tiny bit more for the next thing I want to do, so we'll just wait for another batch here. Alright, great. Alright, let's head over and send this stuff off. Alright, so now that that's taken off, we've basically unlocked logistics. So what I didn't mention before was that our miners are actually getting slightly backed up. When these lights are flashing yellow and then flashing green, it means that they're operational and then they're not operational. So power is doing this like kind of spike thing. It's fluctuating a lot because the machines are stop-starting. The reason for that is because out of here is 60 ore per minute. This belt is a Mark 1 belt. It can transfer 60 ore per minute. And this is actually only taking in 30 per minute. So basically every second ore that comes in here, the machine is just stalling because it basically isn't consuming as much as we'd like. So that's where logistics comes in. If we split this belt, we can split it evenly, 30 and 30, and then feed another smelter, which is exactly what we're going to do. So if you just look at the smelter, middle mouse click, you can just grab it. I'm actually slightly low on rods again, so I'll just pick up some more rods out of here. Alright, we got them. So, again, look at the machine, hold control, rotate, and we'll just bring it out just so slightly like this maybe, just to give it a bit of distance. Getting a bit close to that, but it's okay. And now what we can do is have a look at this. So logistics, we want to open up a splitter. So what we're going to need today is 9 splitters in total, and we're going to need 8 mergers. So we've got a splitter here. If we look at the belt, you can see that it snaps on, and it automatically orientates itself knowing the direction of the belt. Normally you can just rotate around. The orange is the input, the green is obviously the 3 outputs, but we can just look at the belt, snap it into here, and now it's already like part of the machine, as it were, or part of the logistics. We'll just grab a new belt and then feed it over there. And it's as easy as that. Now our 60 is being split into 30 and 30. Very simple. Alright, so we'll obviously want to power that machine now that the belt is filled up, and select iron ingots again. So now we've got 2 smelters working, and we can build another constructor, lined up with it there. If we can get that line to appear, it'd be nice. Okay, so I just got a little distracted there for a second. So basically, we've set up the next smelter. It's receiving the 30 ore because it's been split. 30 ore going in, 30 coming out, and then into a new constructor, which I've just placed down as well. So basically, just selecting that with the middle mouse button and holding control allows you to line it up with the next constructor next to it. Doesn't have to be right next to it. I have it just in front of the smelter. So this is going to be, again, iron plates. And out of here now, we can use our first merger. So we'll build a storage container just in front of the 2 here, like so. And then we'll build a merger. Holding control again. Now, there's no belt here already, so sometimes it's a little easier if you build a belt first. And then we'll just get our merger, look at the belt, click there, and just connect this one in as well. So now, we've got iron plates rolling out of 2 machines, combining, and then going into 1. So effectively, like I mentioned, that belt can hold 60. We have a 20 output per minute coming out of this machine, and a 20 out of this one. So that's going to be a total of 40. So we've got this all mapped out in some nice graphics for you. The What Darren Plays production team has been hard at work, so we'll take a look at it now. Alright, so here we have a visualization of the production chain which we've just made. So we have 1 miner producing 60 ore per minute, which has been split evenly into 2 smelters, which have been designated as iron ingots. Each of those is making 30 ingots per minute, which is each going into a constructor of their own. They're both set to make iron plates, and then they come together in a merger to produce 40 plates per minute, which goes into a storage container. Very simple, and you can actually get a visualization tool like this for yourself on satisfactorycalculator.com, I think. Just Google it. Satisfactory Calculator will give you a very similar tool. I'm using something else, but people love to use that website, so I do recommend it. It definitely seems to be the tool of choice for the community. So, the next thing we're going to do is go back to our copper now, and actually set up a little bit more of a complicated chain. So it's not too much more complicated, but it's slightly more complicated. Effectively, the first part here is basically the same. One miner into two smelters. But instead of a smelter into one constructor, we're now going to double it up. So we're going to need a splitter to divide our copper between two constructors, and then we're going to remerge them back into a storage container for wire, and then do the same on the bottom. Slightly different though, throw in an extra constructor, which will make us cable. But if you just follow along, should be no problem at all. So we'll just head up and get to work now. Just going to also constantly feed that thing with everything it needs, and we'll just make sure we have the power for all this. So yeah, actually it's a good point. We'll fill all the fuel of our biomass burners. Alright, so just a future plan, we should probably just make another biomass burner. So we'll grab this one, we'll just run around to the far side here, maybe just here. And I have the materials now to build a couple of these. So we'll just make one there, another one here, and another one here. So keep them roughly in the same spot. And a couple power poles for each one of these. Connect the power poles in. And then this power pole can connect into that. And now these are all ready to go as well. So 3 extra burners, that's 4 in total, not counting the 2 that are built into the thing. So 200 biomass in there, 200 in there, and 200 in there. So we got plenty to go with for quite a while. So that is going to give us a total power now of 160 capacity. We should not need to go over that, so we should be good for power now for a while. So we're going to head up to the copper area, and we're going to build out that chain, which I just showed off. Alright, we're up at the copper area, so if you remember from the diagram, we basically need to grab a second smelter. The terrain is really uneven up here, so we can still hold control. Just spread it out a little further, because there's going to be multiple machines added onto this. So just give it some extra distance there. Now what we're going to do is go to our logistics tab. You see our hotbar down here, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not really ever going to use number 4, for instance, so what we'll do is just hover over splitter, put that on number 4 by just pressing the number 4 while hovering over it. And then press number 5 for the merger. So now on our hotbar, we can just get out a splitter, super easy. Merger, splitter, merger, splitter. Some people do this though. If you just take out a splitter and press E, it'll just switch to a merger. So you don't need to separate them on the hotbar. I like to do that just so that I can pull out whichever I want straight away with one click. But you know, it takes up hotbar space. Now if you hold Alt and scroll your wheel, you actually have 9 other hotbars to use. Oh, 10 actually. So there's lots of hotbar space if you don't mind switching between them. Alright, so we can just grab our splitter. Try to get it at a place where it's not crazy orientated, but it doesn't really matter. Alright, we'll just slam it in there. Drag this out. Oh, I'm missing concrete. Okay, we'll go grab some concrete then. Good thing we'd be making it in the background. Alright, so we're back up here. We'll place the splitter down again. We've got our belt. We'll just drag it out into here. And speaking of that concrete, 180 concrete, that means that it was probably running for 18 minutes because it's 10 concrete per minute, I think, that we're doing. Alright, so this should be feeding in nicely. We've selected copper on this already. And just to double check, we are making 60 copper per minute, which is now being split 30 and 30 to each smelter. Now the smelter doesn't have power just yet. We'll just hook up what else it needs. So if you remember our diagram, we had this one smelter here, which should split into 2 constructors. So holding control, we can just put another constructor right next to it. Get another splitter right around here. Grab this one, send it in there. I'm just going to pick up all this wire. So we might need it for the future. So what needs to happen now? We just merge it, right? So we look at our belts, we grab this one, we feed it in there. So now we're making, if we have a look at wire, 30 per minute wire, 30 per minute wire, and that's going to be 60 on the belt, which is the max we can do. So it should be 60 wire per minute feeding in here when we power it all on. Yeah. Alright, so let's just grab this, power that. It's as simple as that for this machine. Now for the other smelter, we're going to have a separate chain, but similar. So we'll just hold control again. Want to make it look kind of even, we could bring it even up to here. And then we'll just get 2 of these in a row. I'm going to be low on cables, but this is actually what this place is going to be making. So we'll select wire again and wire again for both of these. We'll grab our splitter, send the belt in there. So now we just have a smelter going into 2. So right now it is a copy and paste of what's just behind it. They're all set to wire. But instead of merging and going into a box, they're going to merge and go into another constructor. So we'll just grab this again. We're just slightly low on cable. So what I'm going to do is just craft a little bit right here. So go to production tab, slam down a craft bench, and we can just make some cable out of the wire that we have very quickly. We don't need much, and this will be automating it now in future anyway. Alright, just take that back away. There's full refunds in the game, I should say, so don't ever be worried about destroying things. Or deleting them, or bringing them back. Dismantling them, that's the word. Alright, cool. So, another constructor, please. Somewhere in the middle. Let's snap it onto this other one. Connect those 2 together. We'll then build a merger, like so. And just snap that in there. Okay, now they're merging and going into something which will be making cable. So this takes 60 wire. And it puts out 30 cable. And we know that's 30 wire, 30 wire. So that's a nice and even production chain right there. Just need to hook it all up to power now. So let's get this and this. Just lots of power poles to give us a lot of flexibility with what we do. Okay. Connect all of these. And then connect this as well. And that should be power. So we already invested in all this extra power, so the bump is going to be very small compared to all that potential that we have. Now, the last thing we want to do is just give it another container. So we'll grab this container, hold control, snap it in there, and there you go. So now we've done 30 cable per minute, 60 wire per minute, and we're still improving and building up our iron production chain as well. So just make sure we grab as much of that wire as we can. What is he doing? He's eating some of the trees, is he? That's cool. Yeah, so we're going to have to wait a little while for cable to actually come out. But we can always just make some on our own. You make it really quickly anyway, and then we'll revisit here if we need to grab some more. But that should be a full 100% production chain now for this copper node. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to do is add more miners. So we're going to build a equipment workshop. And we can just access it here and build 2 more portable miners. That's all we need, just 2. And remember, we have the little recipe list on the right to actually see what we need to complete all the stuff that I have in mind for us here. So just 2 more of those. We'll take out some of the biomass, put more wood in. Still have tons of leaves that we can use. And I'm just going to top up all of these machines, just make sure they've all got the biomass they need. Alright, so I've just topped up all of the biomass burners. Power should be good for a while. I'm just manually making some cable here, hopefully for the last time. And we could just use that going forward to build a little extra concrete. So we're going to need more concrete in future, and we want to increase the production overall of what we've been doing. So let's head out to this limestone mine over here, or limestone deposit. Just do the very same we did before, which is basically just put a miner on it, put 1 constructor on it, and a storage container so that we can actually save it up. Alrighty. Bit of a weird angle, obviously, for this thing, but it's just got to be the way it is. So we'll have to give this a bit of distance, I think. And then see if our belt can fit in there. There we go. Alright, so we'll just set up power poles leading off towards there. Hook these back up to each other. And then just make a little storage container for us to grab this stuff. So, because we don't have foundations, a lot of this stuff is temporary. We'll probably leave it for actually a little while, but eventually, obviously, we'll have this in a nice factory. All the storage will be in one place for us just to go grab. But for now, early game, got to run back and forth a little bit. Okay, let's just make sure our power is actually hooked up. Can we hook up to that? No. That's often a little problem. We'll just cut the wire here for a second. Grab this one, get that to the machine instead, and then hook these up. So now, limestone is running yet again. Now, before we actually invest in more rod production, we're going to do this exact setup one more time. It's almost like your little homework assignment. See if you can do this again on your own. Because we've got another node right here that's untapped. So we're just going to build another miner, 2 constructors, and then merge it all back into a box. Alright, so we are up and running. Basically, I've just copied the exact layout of this particular area here. So this miner has 2 smelters. Each smelter has their own constructor making plates, and the plates then feed into one box. Now you might wonder why, hey, why not combine it all into the same box? Why make a separate box over there if they're all making iron plates? Well, the reason is basically that our belts are limited to 60 per minute. 60 resources per minute can travel on those belts, otherwise they get backed up. And at the moment, this makes 20, and this makes 20. They're being merged onto a belt of 40. If we were to merge all of them, it'd be too much for one belt. It'd be 80, and we can only carry 60. You could merge it onto one to get 60 on one and 20 on the other, I guess. But at the moment, both of them are just doing 40. So both these containers are going to fill up at 40 per minute. Look how much is in here already. 600. So we have absolutely loads. Now this is even full because we didn't give it a container. So this is doing 200. All right, so the next stage is going to be, well, just actually to show you really quickly the exact layout of that, just so that everyone knows exactly how it was done. I'll display it on screen. So that's basically what we just did. One miner, 2 smelters, 2 constructors, and a storage container. So the next thing is going to be doing iron rods. So we're going to get a little bigger and a little bit more complex with this one. And again, because we're going to be making screws, we're actually going to have 3 separate boxes because each of these are going to be making 40 each. So only one belt can really handle all of that. But in future, we're going to get a belt capable of 120. So these could all be merged into one box in the future. But for now, we're not there yet. Alright, so to do this, we already have one phase of this done. We've got one smelter. We need to now combine, or not combine this, extend it so it's 2 smelters. I'll just give it a decent amount of space here again. We'll grab our splitter, look at the belts, change to number 3 to actually get our belt out, feed it into there. Make sure we select iron ingots. And then we're going to have 2 constructors each per smelter. Alright, so that's 4 constructors now in a row. Remember, this was doable because we picked up those reinforced iron plates from the crash site. If you didn't pick those up and you have an issue, you can always go to the crafting bench and just make them yourself. I'm actually just going to replace this for a second because we can line it up just slightly better, I think. Not really, actually. It's not really behaving itself very well. There's no grid. Without foundations, this is kind of what you run into. So that's fairly lined up. Alright, we'll just feed that back in. We'll feed this one in as well. And now we need to do a split here as well, right? So split here, bring it into its buddy. Split here, and bring it into its buddy. On here, we're going to select rods for all of these machines. Now, I've just selected it for one. We can go Control-C, copy and paste. We can copy it on that machine, paste it onto this one, paste it here, and it's already here. We'll just paste it anyway just for fun. So there we go. Now, this actually says it's only running at 45%, but it should be fine now. It should have more than enough coming into it now. Alright, cool. So we just have to give it power. So we'll just drag this out. Give that one power. Drag this out again. And drag this again to just somewhere like here. Give these 2 machines power. Give that one power as well. And this can go a little further. So we're going to move this further out in a sec. So if I've done that correctly, which I think I have. Oh, I forgot to reselect iron ingots. There we go. Iron is now flowing along here, splitting and becoming rods again. So each one that's doing rods is taking 15 in per minute. So just to walk it back, 60 per minute, split to 30 per minute, split to 15 per minute. So that's even splits all the way. And that for 15 per minute coming out, we've got 15, 15, 15, and 15. Now, 2 of these we want to leave on their own and just put them into a box, like so. So we're just going to save these up, and we'll merge them. Alright, so they're going to be merged and go in here nicely. Just sort our inventory as well for a sec. Something I like to do is get rid of the iron ore I have right now, so just dump it in here and then just delete the rest. We don't really need that. Alright, cool. So that frees us up with 2 constructors here on the side, yeah? These 2 constructors are now going to go into 3 constructors. And as you can see on our to-do list, we actually have 3 listed. That's the final amount. I could probably bring it to here and bring this to here. Grab these nuts. Alright, so we've got 2 machines sitting here on the side, both making 15 iron rods per minute. So basically what we want to do is grab this belt and feed it straight into the one right in front of it. And then grab a splitter, which is going to take these 30 rods and split them into there and into there. It's clipping through stuff at the moment, but don't worry about that. Just get rid of that. Now, we haven't actually merged this yet, so I was getting a little ahead of myself. So the merger is here. And we'll just merge that one in. So now we got 15 and 15, so that's 30 coming in here. 30 then being split evenly 3 ways, so that's 10, 10, and 10. And that's exactly what we need in here for screws. So 10 per minute is going to produce 40 screws per minute for each machine. So we'll just copy and paste that recipe in here, just like so. And then these just need to have power as well. So we drag that power forward, which we had earlier. There we go. So 1, 2, and that's that, I guess. 3. Alright, so they're all working. Now, they each need their own storage container. So 1, 2, and somewhere there, 3. Alright, and very simply, just feed them all with their own belt. Alright, cool. So there you have it. That is that previous diagram which I just showed you, right? So we've got 1 miner into 2 smelters. Each smelter goes into 2 constructor. They're all making rods. 1 set of those constructors goes off into a storage container, just to store up the rods for later. We'll use them later. The other one goes into a set of 3 constructors, which all go into a storage container. So I think that might be it for all of the machines I wanted to make today. Effectively, we are now producing 30 iron rods per minute, 80 iron plates per minute, 120 screws per minute, 20 concrete per minute in our 2 limestone miners, 60 wire up on the hill, and 30 cable up on the hill. So we're basically making everything we need for pretty much all of the milestones here at the beginning. So base building, we're going to need more concrete, but we can fill this already with some of this stuff. Just go grab that concrete. There should be plenty in the box now. 200 out here. And we should still have good power for a while. Alright, so that's the concrete, so that's base building. But before we click the button, we're going to go to field research. They need 300 screws. So select this milestone, we'll give it the wire, we'll give it the plates. We'll just go make another run, grab some of those screws. It's 40 per minute, we needed 300. There might have been enough time already. So while I'm waiting for some screws to be made, I decided to pay a visit to our copper area. We've now got 500 cables. I can't even carry any of this stuff. We'll have to get rid of some of the meaningless crap in my inventory here. Now when we do some of these milestones, we'll actually increase our inventory, which will be nice. What about this one? Good, yeah, I think we're pretty good for a while. Alright, so we'll head back, we'll grab the rest of the screws. That should be enough now. And start activating some of these milestones to see what we've done. Alright, so I've just added in the correct amount of screws. So this means base building is now ready to launch, and also field research is ready to launch. So let's hit the button. So we'll just click this again, quickly select over, select milestone, and just click the button again. So that's both of those done basically at the same time before the thing could really take off. So it's going to be 2 minutes before the pod returns. In those 2 minutes, based on the rates that I just told you, we know exactly how much of everything we're going to be making. So it's really just a matter of time. So what you can do if you're waiting around or wanting to use up some time effectively is go back out to the forest, go back out to other places, gather up some biomass and refill the fuel machines. I actually still have tons of leaves in my inventory, and we just got some extra slots there. So I'm good for a while, but do have to keep emptying this out. It's probably high time we finally do build a storage container. I was being a little skimping on the iron rods. I thought we'd be running out. So now we can actually just feed that in. But we actually don't have a belt that's good enough to move 300 per minute anyway, if we're feeding it wood. So there's not much we can do. But at least it will eventually empty out and keep going in its own time. So we've just unlocked a bunch of things. Let's have a look at some of the things we've got. So basically, we just got Tier 1 Field Research. So we've got a map, the MAM, object scanner, inventory slots, an extra hand slot, beacons, and personal storage boxes. We've also unlocked foundations, lookout towers, and so on and so forth. So we'll build a little lookout tower and have a look at what we've just done so you can get a good bird's eye view. So you can see exactly the layout that I went for. So that is my target throughput reached, by the way, and that is all of Tier 1 done. So we've completed the to-do list for today. So we have our limestone miner over there making some concrete in that box. We have one iron miner over here, which is basically making us screws and iron rods. We have another iron miner here and here. These two things are doing the exact same thing. They're duplicates of each other. They're both making iron rods at, iron plates at 40 per minute. Oh, he's back already. That was super quick. Then we have our manual sort of biomass churn. And then we have our limestone node, again making concrete up in the distance. We then have obviously our copper node, which is making both cable and wire right now. So what we're going to need in the next episode, when we go a little further, is we're going to start thinking about rotors and the unique materials that are going to be needed to make the space elevator. So in order to progress further, we're going to have to wait until we've got 400 rods. We've already got actually loads of this stuff already. It's really just a matter of maybe waiting 10 minutes to get all these materials. And in that time, we could be exploring and marking things and doing other things all the same. We also have lots of stuff here that we can get. So we'll start doing this in the next episode. It really is, like I said, just a matter of waiting, building up some resources, and then ticking them off. Alright, there's actually still a couple things left to show. So we have unlocked the MAM, the Molecular Analysis Machine, the MAM. And in here, if we just plop it down, we can do a little bit of research. So I asked you to find me 2 slugs. So we have one here. So in the power slug section, we just click this. It researches in 3 seconds. And it opens up the tree for more things. So effectively, we can now turn this into a power shard. And with that, we can now access overclocking. So let's just do that really quickly. So if we just build, again, a quick craft bench, scroll down, we now have the option to make a power shard with the other slug we have. Takes just 4 seconds. Do that, head back over to the machine, power slugs, click this one. We needed 50 wire and 50 plates, no problem for us. And now we have access to overclocking and underclocking. The important word there, I feel, is underclocking. So what that means is effectively we can go over to a machine like this, and we can see now on the bottom that we can place in power shards in order to boost the productivity of the machine. However, it has a knock-on effect to power, a runaway effect in fact. It's an exponential climb for power the more efficient, or sorry, the more productive the machine goes. So let's say the power of the machine is 5 now. If you go up to 200%, it's not going to be 10 power. It's going to be something like 15, something like that, you know? So what's actually beneficial in the game is to underclock your machines, as it saves you a tremendous amount of power. So we went down to 60%, but we're only using half the amount of power. So I'm actually getting a little more out of it than I otherwise should be, if you know what I mean. So what we're going to do is go to 66.66%. And that's going to give us 20 per minute out of this, which I think is what we need. Am I right with that? Let me see. Oh, sorry, it's the wrong way around. We want this one to go up to 100%, so that's 30 parts per minute. This one can go down to 66.66. So it's going to take in just about 30 per minute. In fact, if we add another 6 there, there we go. We've now rounded it up to 30 per minute, outputting a consistent 10 per minute. It's going to be locked at 66% efficiency now going forward. The reason you might want to do that is just to prevent power fluctuations on your network. You can load balance the sort of power lines if you're not oversupplying or undersupplying a machine. So you want to keep that number as that graph as flat as possible. Now there's one other machine still doing that in the distance. It's the other limestone node. So we'll just head over to that one, do the same, collect the resources on the way back, and see if we can do any more milestones. See that yellow bar? We don't like to see that. Oh my god, I didn't select concrete. Oh well. Well, now that we're here, we can still select 66.666. And there we go. Alright, so that didn't have anything in it. We left it running for a good 10 or 15 minutes, but I forgot to select the recipe. It's so frustrating when that happens. Alright, so let's go collect our resources and see what next milestones we can do. Alright, we're back in the hub. Got a bunch of materials. Not sure what we can actually do. So we've got part assembly ready to go. So let's do that. That's going to give us access to assemblers, which we'll be using in the beginning of the next episode to make rotors. But before we select that one, let's just see what else we got. Obstacle clearing, absolutely. This will give us access to the chainsaw. We can cut down trees and get much more wood much more quickly. We don't have what we need for jump pads. We'll have to make rotors with that. Resource sink program. We'll need more concrete than I have, so we'll have to leave that one. And the same is sort of true for Logistics Mark II. Now, you could sit back and just manually craft some reinforced iron plates. I'll probably do that. We need 41 more, and then we're able to do this one. So I'm going to select that milestone as well. Feed it everything it needs. And then I'm just going to get to crafting the next batch of these that we need. We actually need more screws, so I'll just make some screws, make some reinforced plates, a little bit of handmade crafting, and then we can just ship that all off, and then we can worry about automating it in the next episode. Alright, I've made everything I need, I think. So we have all the concrete and all the reinforced plates, and we filled up the other milestones as well, so that's boom! That's going to be pretty much everything we need for a while now. Love hitting that button, man. Feels good. Alright, so the next one would be Resource Sink Bonus Program. There's actually a lot to talk about this stuff, so we'll wait for the next episode as with jump pads, and then we're going to be building our space elevator as well. So my advice to you, if you want to continue after watching this, can't get enough of the game, is to go out, find some more fuel, process it into biomass, and just keep storing up tons of materials because we're going to use it all in the various different things. Don't add more power. You're just going to add to the amount of time that you're going to have to run around feeding the machines. You want to get to automating power as fast as possible. That's going to take us to get to coal. Now, as soon as we build the space elevator, the next milestone after that is coal, so we can get that done really, really quickly in the next episode, I think. Alright, that's going to have to be it. Thank you very much for watching. Please do leave me as much feedback as possible about the format of this video. And if you liked it, and if you think it'd be helpful for other beginners, please do share it with friends. I'll be back next week. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.